Thank you, Brandon. Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to announce our next award. Our honoree, Sol Adler, class of 1975, is the executive director of one of New York City's great institutions, the 92nd Street Y. That's right. In this position, Mr. Adler oversees all of the activities of the internationally known Cultural and Community Center. During his tenure, he has doubled the number of programs the 92nd Street Y offers, tripled the organization's budget, launched the Y's foray into e-commerce, and created a satellite broadcast program, established partnerships with technology and other companies, and initiated a diplomatic outreach program that has resulted in relationships with over 100 countries through New York's consulates and other diplomatic entities. Let's give a big round of applause for that. Ladies and gentlemen, our second distinguished award goes to Mr. Sol Adler.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you very much. This truly is a great honor. Not only because this is being recognized by my alma mater, but because this particular university, and I'm really taking off what President Gould was talking about before, is the foundation of America, because it serves so many of our immigrants. Their ambition, their energy, that's what makes this country great. That's what's made this country great for 235 years. In fact, I'm a first-generation American. My sister, who's with me today, Doris Gershon Adler, Doris Adler Gershon, forgive me. Sorry, Andrew, our husband. She came here when she was 3½, and when my parents flew to the United States as new immigrants, they landed here in May of 1953. I was born in February of 1954, so if you go like this, you'll see how happy they were and how they celebrated becoming new immigrants to the United States. I'm thrilled to see what Brooklyn College is today. It's inspired diversity. Young people of every racial, religious, ethnic background are learning side by side in what truly is, and truly, unfortunately, something that only happens so often in the United States. I wish it happened all over the world. These people are learning side by side, and they're going to contribute to this country and make it great in the future. It's also wonderful for me to see all the new facilities. Right in this spot, I believe James Hall used to sit. And that's, in fact, one of the places I took the first photographs of someone who was very important to me. I'll tell you about it in a moment. This institution has a motivational new president, Dr. Gould, who is clearly inspiring everyone associated with the college. In fact, I was so pleased to see, the thinking process. When you do things, when you run a not-for-profit the size of ours, you think about these things, and how she reorganized this institution into 5 schools: the business school, the education school, humanities and social science, natural and behavioral science, visual media and performing arts. All of that will benefit this institution, will benefit Brooklyn College for many, many decades to come in so many different ways. So it gives me such a satisfying feeling to come back to this institution and see what's going on here. As a citizen, unfortunately, our federal government doesn't do such a great job in creating thoughtful immigration policy, but this institution does. And so this is... And so, again, as a citizen, it makes me feel wonderful that you find places where your tax dollars go and you actually feel good about it. And that's Brooklyn College. So please, that's President Gould and Brooklyn College. So I took a little time to do a little nostalgia. And I said all these new things, all these wonderful things, and we were here from the early to middle 1970s, and I wanted to see, was there anything the same? And it's so interesting when you look at these great buildings and you look at all the changes, you think everything's different, but not everything is different. So I got online and I picked up the daily Brooklyn College calendar to see what was going on today. And I was pleased to see that in spite of the fact that I was an economics major and then went a few months afterwards and got an accounting degree, but they still had my favorite course. It was called Procrastination Workshop. I must tell you something about procrastination. If you're here for 4 years and you get away with it, that's great. The minute you graduate, it ends. The other thing that was similar, and I found this really very interesting, is they had another program today called Men Undressed Panel. The only difference is that in 1975 they called it streaking. Do you remember that? Do you remember that? Right. And then you'd wind up sitting in class next to the woman or the man who just streaked, which was always very interesting. You knew them a little bit more intimately than you had thought you would. I received, finally, 2 gifts from Brooklyn College. One gift was a great education that lit a fire. And as you all know, education, true education, is not the filling of a bucket of information, it's the lighting of a fire. And so I received 2 gifts. One was the lighting of that fire, and the other one was in a class in the history department. It was actually history of women. I must have thought I was very clever, because who would you probably meet in a class of history of women? When I went into the class, I remember thinking, well, there were a bunch of guys who were at least as smart as I was, because they were all in there. But I did meet my dear wife, Debbie, and we've been married for 35 years. She's a graduate of 75 as well. So I have had lots to thank Brooklyn College for. And President Gould, Alumni Association, thank you very much for giving me this honor. I'm so pleased. It really is a great honor.